The very basic definition of media literacy is to be able to read or analyze the media.
Kind of think critically about what goes into it and why, but then also to be able to tell your own story in whatever way you want to.
Being able to dissect generalizations, to be able to dissect representation of different groups in the media.
So media literacy, I think, is kind of like practicing a guitar. You know, you're not going to get good at it unless you do it all the time. And once you do it all the time, you don't want to go insane just reading everything and analyzing it, so then produce something. So if you're practicing guitar, hopefully then you get good enough, you write a song, you get collaborators, you make an album, you spread that album, you go on tour, you perform it, and people are like, whoa, that was amazing. It's the same thing with like reading the media, getting super savvy in media literacy, taking it to the next step, actually producing your own counter narratives, messages, and then spreading that and actually impacting the world. I mean, it's the same thing.
My personal relationship with media literacy, I have to say, it is evolving, but I think one of the coolest moments in film.
Who's the one and only Malcolm?
Barry Gordy's The Last Dragon. If you've never seen that film, go and see it. It was the first time that I saw like a nerdy brown guy doing kung fu. Kung fu is this beautiful art. It's this, this wonderful thing. Like seeing a brown person do it, and he was also nerdy like me, right? So like seeing myself represented in fairly mainstream film was eye-opening for me. It kind of opened the door and made it okay for me to want to do those things. That representation in the media is very important for breaking down doors or barriers that young people have as they're looking at who's being reflected in the media and what's acceptable and what's okay for them to do.
A lot of that for me was from really badass musicians, like feminist musicians. Singing about issues around women and justice and bringing up an aspect of media literacy. Did they ever have media literacy in their lyrics? No. But what they were doing to teach an underground sense of education really made me and a lot of the girls in my age group listen. So I kind of feel like media literacy works best within that grounding of counter-narrative. When I say counter-narratives, I really mean how young people are using, for example, film, and they're looking at the way in which women, for example, are represented. And they're able to articulate, gee, that is something that I don't identify with. And I think there's enough of a safe space where you can gain a lot of role models and confidence to say, I actually think that this is how I want to be represented, and then to film it, to show it to other people. A lot of women then get inspired by that perspective.
It wasn't a huge choice or onus to be like, I should be aware of the way that the media portrays women, because it's always something that's affected me. Because it's been personal, it was never something I had a choice, which is sometimes really hard because I can't just like go see a movie and enjoy it.
I think that anytime we're talking about gender roles that are accepted in society, we actually have either thought-provoking films or other pieces of media that make us question what those roles are, then the ideal is that translates into people questioning their own role, perpetuating prejudice. It's going to have a positive impact on long-term equity for everyone.
So I think media literacy could actually help women become more vocal to stand up and say, this is not okay, stop, no, inappropriate reporting this, somebody's got to hear this, where other women help, and get that help and be like super powerful. And for people who are perpetrators of that to realize that what they're doing is completely inappropriate and incredibly cruel and harmful.
I think that I have a problem with almost everything about the way that women are portrayed in the media.
I think this country is so obsessed about youth and thinness as beauty, even the market of buying hair and selling hair, trying to get like Beyonce hair, and there's that, and then there's also the very violent issues, battery abuse, sexual assault, which is way too common.
When I was much younger, I listened to a lot of stuff that later I was like listening to, like, really, that's incredibly just hateful, right? And it was when I started to have that analysis of the media, and I started to really think about whether the message from those, in particular the music, whether it was in alignment with my core values.
I think the side of media literacy that has to do with like creating media, how do you use a camera, how do you write a script, a storyboard, how do you get money. But I want to see with media literacy training, like people being equipped to tell their own stories. And I think that alone will help, because I think most of the characters that we see look a lot like the people behind the camera or writing the script.
If done well, media literacy can help change all the cultures that come after us, and even those that are in front of us, to see women in a different view or a different lens. And until that happens, we will continue going through several global issues around harm to women, violence against women and children, trafficking of women and children. Like, those are, I think, impacts of a world who just really desperately needs media literacy. Desperately.